بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ونور قلوبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وأن تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير النفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودفعة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته قربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني مشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني مشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. Amin, 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 ya Rabbal Alamin. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Let's continue with the book of assistance, right? So inshallah, we have time inshallah to finish, what's this? To finish Dhulul inshallah. So it will be next Friday, right? Next Friday is Dhulul, is the Khatam. Right, so we have 4 more chapters, right? So Allah was we have 4 more chapters, so which means that we will do it this Friday. There should be nothing going on. As far as I know, these are the quiet days to Ramadan. Nothing happens, right? After this Sha'ban, it's like, and it's quiet. And so nothing happens until, Ramadan comes in. When Ramadan comes in is a full different world in Tarim. Mashallah. And people are awake through the night, right? And they sleep after Shuruk till before the Zuhur. Throughout Ramadan, it is normal, right? So don't expect anyone to be awake right from Shuruk up till Zuhur. Right? Usually, they will pray Tarawih. Of course, the Tarawih here is long, and Darul Mustafa they will do 2 juz per rak'at. Per rak'at is 2 juz, right? Because Habib Umar aims to do a khatam by the 17th of Ramadan, which is Yamul Badr, and also Nuzul al-Quran. As they do the khatam by the 17th Ramadan, and they'll begin again the Quran, and again 2 juz per rak'at, and they will end by the end of Ramadan. So they do 2 khatams at Darul Mustafa. If you join Surah Zainab, she will read, I think she does a khatam every week if I'm not wrong. She will do several juz per rak'at. Several, I think about 3 or 4 or 5. I'm not sure how many juz just per rak'at. But several juz per rak'at. I just want to join her. It's long Tarawih. The Tarawihs are long. Right, mashallah. So I mean, I guess there's no where else in the world you would actually experience this kind of long Tarawih, mashallah. Right, so inshallah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability, right? And then Habab al-Nur, right, will always give a class at night. There's classes in Habib's house, there's class at Surah Zainab, there's class at Darul Fiqh. I usually have classes, right? And on all of these, I'm still not decided where I'm going to be and which class I'll probably be translating, because there's several classes, so I don't know where am I going to be. So our translation is, right, this is on the FM radio. I'll see where I'm gonna be on which night. Mashallah. Allah, alhamdulillah. Right, but usually classes will come to a stop in Ramadan, right, usually. Right, but if you all want to continue, this class will not be at night, right, but it would probably be an hour before Asr. Because usually Asr, Habib will have Rawha the whole of Ramadan. So people wake up around the whole time, and the whole to Asr is actually the Quran reading time. And they do Quran until Asr. Then Asr is when they cook, right? They go to people's houses, they do visitations in Ramadan and so on. They do visitations in Ramadan, mashallah. And then just because Asr to Maghrib is a busy time. So usually any daytime classes, if there are, usually there are not, but if there are, it happens in the Zuhur to Asr period, usually, or in the depths of the night. So to keep people up. Stay up. So Hawa Nur's class will probably end around midnight, 1 a.m. Then people will go and continue their prayers, their Qiyamul Layl, and do the Quran, and so on. Right? So they have like several khatams they will do. So mashallah, the ibadah, the people of the called Ahlul Ibadah. They're already Ahlul Ibadah. The ibadah nowhere else in the world you can compare to what is being done here. It is a community of people. It's amazing, mashallah. Right, so if there is class, it will be like, so by the time it's 3 a.m, because now it's summer, 3 a.m, 4 a.m, they will start the awrat already. So you have like what, from 1 a.m to 3, right, to maybe eat something, rest, and then they'll start again, mashallah. And from Maghrib to Isha, they'll break a little bit, then they'll pray to Tasbih, and they'll pray until Isha. Then Isha, then they will have a small meal, then they'll go back to Tarawih and they'll pray. So like it's like mustahil for people to eat between Maghrib and Isha. It's like not happening. They just break a little bit and then they'll go and pray tasbih. So every night there's a tasbih. Inshallah. Some people that while you're here just do what they do. And because there's a lot of strength in Jama'ah. You try doing it back in your country, it's very hard, I tell you. It was so hard when I was in Singapore trying to just hold on to this way. Very hard because you're the only one doing it. Right? And you go to someone's house, they just serve the entire iftar at Maghrib. So you're like, no, let's pray Maghrib first. Everyone's there, no, we're eating first. Inshallah. So only in Tarim you can do this kind of things, inshallah. MashaAllah. Okay, Alhamdulillah. قال المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا الله به بعلم في الدارين من كتاب رسالة المعاونة ومظاهرة ومؤازرة للراغبين من المؤمنين في سلوك طريق الآخرة من الإمام الشيخ الإسلام قطب الدعوة والإرشاد الحبيب عبد الله بن علوي الحداد الحضرمي الشافعي رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا الله به وبعلومه في الدارين. From the book, the treatise, mutual assistance and support and encouragement for those of the believers who desire to tread the path of the Akhirah by the great Sheikh, the Sheikh of Islam, Mujaddid, and he is a renewal of his faith. He is a qutb, he is a pillar of da'wah and of guidance. Al-Habib Abdullah bin Alawi Al-Haddad Al-Hadrami Al-Shafi'i Rahimahullah ta'ala. And also any ziyaras you want to do before Ramadan, you give me a heads up. Okay. The khatam is Friday.
Oh yeah, inshallah.
Yeah, so like ziyaras, I don't know, have you gone anywhere to masajids or to the Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
We're going to go to Medina.
You're going to be all of it, inshallah. Ainat, would you go to Ainat as well? You're going to Ainat as well. Ainat is Sheikh Abu Bakr bin Salim. Sheikh Abu Bakr bin Salim gone there. Imam Muhajir.
Yes.
No, that's it. They're the main ones. There are many ziyarat you could go for. Many. Right? And what is Husaisa? Husaisa is between Tarim and Se'ud. Husaisa. Sheikh Sultana is there as well, just on the other side. Dawan has a lot of awliya in Dawan. You go to Dawan. It's a very. Have you gone to Dawan?
No, that's what sister we are going.
You're going Dawan next week.
Anissa husband.
Or Abu Shahidin. Shahidin is bringing all the Dawan next week. Okay, Dawan is a lot of awliya there in Dawan. It's a full day from morning all the way to what, Isha. No, not Isha. Morning till midnight. Usually you leave before Fajr, you come back around 12, 1 a.m. You never been Dawan, Dawan is a full trip, mashallah, Dawan. A lot of awliya, Imam Bawsaudan is there, Nabi Hadun, many of the awliya, many, the Mihdar Gubba, and so on. A lot of the awliya are there in Dawan. Inshallah. So inshallah, khair. Meaning Imam Al-Haddad's house and mosque you went?
The mosque we went to.
Imam Al-Haddad's at Hawi. Yeah, but it's basically it's a small mosque inside a big mosque, right?
Okay.
It's a very beautiful mosque. There's a small mosque inside, and then his house is at the side with his beads, prayer beads. You didn't go to Imam al-Haddad? Okay, put it on your list. Imam al-Haddad's house. Huh?
I
You know-
became a little unsure, but
Where have
actually
you
I was on my period, so I couldn't go.
Ah.
So I was looking through the doors.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
it was
you
a bad
went.
timing.
You went for, so all the massages you went during your period.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
I
Huh?
went in with I don't sit.
Yeah, you murur.
No,
Murur.
Okay, I'm finished now. When we went.
So you just walk through. I don't know what the Hanafi is, but Shafi'i,
Sorry?
you can walk through the masjid.
Yeah.
So from one door to another door.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So you don't like in a sense sit or whatever, but you walk through.
I think it's the same in Hanafi. I think it's quite strict. Really? Oh. I googled it afterwards.
Inshallah.
But I had to put that in because the sheikh that took us was just a remote. So I was
No.
okay, it's better than nothing.
No, yeah. Maybe when you're not when you're able to pray, you can go again and pray.
Yes.
Because al-Darus, there is a khalwa, you know the khalwa in
Yes,
al-Darus.
I
The
know.
khalwa in there.
It's
The khalwa in al-Darus. And then at Masjid Ba'alawi, you want to pray at the mihrab.
Yeah.
And Masjid Sagaf also, you want to pray at the mihrab. And then with at Anad, there is a khalwa of Shaykh bin Salim in the masjid of Shaykh bin Salim. So his khalwa is up. It's very narrow staircase in a small room above the masjid. There's a khalwa there. It's at Anad. Yeah, Anad. You go to Shaykh bin Salim's house.
Yeah.
You know his house. Next to his house is his masjid. So the original masjid is preserved. There's a bigger masjid built around it. So the original masjid, by the side, above the masjid, is a small khalwa. Right, so it was also small and it's a room, but you got to go up a narrow staircase to get up to the khalwa of Shaykh bin Salim. Yeah, so there are a few obvious places that you want to go and you can pray.
You can go to the masjid.
Yes, there's no one there. You just enter. There's no one there. As I brought people around and it's just like me and a person. There's two people going around. I brought them around. There's no one there. Then yeah, inshallah. You can ask to go again.
Yes, inshallah. We're gonna do a mosque trip again, and then we're gonna go to the
Nabi Allah.
Imam Fajr and Sheikh Abdul
Mashallah.
Is that's the main?
That's the main ones, yes. That's the main ones.
If you guys
Yeah, of course
can think of anything
at
else, please let me
Se'un, Nabi Habib Ali Habshi. Or Se'un. Habib Ali Habshi's maqam and his masjid and his and everything. So,
There's a place they say there's a Sahaba buried.
Sahaba. Yes, a Qarya. That is Abbad bin Bishr. Sayyidina Abbad bin Bishr, he's buried on top of the mountain. So if the story that the angels carry his body up, because there was a fitna and so on, they were going to burn his body, but the angels carry his body up the mountain and bury him up. But it's quite a climb to get up the mountain. Really. Yeah, but Abbad bin Bishr, you can drive there and they bring you there, but you just climb up the mountain. His maqam is up there now. Sayyidina Abbad bin Bishr. Inshallah. But there are many places you can go in Tarim. Many maqamat. Hudaydah, there's Habib Omar bin Abdul Rahman al-Altas, the one who wrote the Sheikh of Imam al-Haddad. Hudaydah. It's basically, it's never ending.
Yeah.
To visit the awliya in Tarim is never ending. MashaAllah, ni'mah. It's a blessing. And then you go back home and you're like, who do I visit? You go to the graves, inshallah, you tawasul whatever wali is in the graves in your land. MashaAllah. But most of our lands, you don't have Sahaba, you don't have prophets. Like go to Singapore, there's no Sahaba in Singapore, there's no prophet in Singapore. We have a wali, I think we have a few walis in Singapore, several walis. Yeah, one major, one big one, and Al-Habshi. He's the main one, but there are a few around the smaller islands in Singapore. There are a few out there here and there. We just hop over to Indonesia. Indonesia, a lot of awliya, Solo. You just go, just hop over. I've not gone. My goal is to go. I've not gone to Indonesia to visit the awliya. But inshallah, but again, some Malaysia we don't have any Sahaba nor Anbiya. We have awliya. No,
At least you have awliya.
Awliya.
Norway.
Maybe hidden awliya. It's hidden awliya in Norway. Somewhere. Just go to the grave. Ya Allah, whoever's had awliya in this grave. Ya Allah. Allah, tamam. So we are at the part وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام كل كلام كل كلام وإياك والغيبة والنميمة this is not sorry, wrong class. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نعم ثلاث درجات في اليقين. I went to the three levels of yaqeen. Right, so the first level is ashabul iman, and that's the common level that most Muslims should be on, whereby they are between their yaqeen and their shak. It means they have some doubt here and there, and then they have yaqeen, they have some doubt, they have yaqeen, right? And this is normal, right, for people. All they have to do is increase in their deeds, and they will increase in their yaqeen. The second level is the muqarrabin. Muqarrabin is other people of yaqeen, naam, right? They have iman in their heart, right? And they are firm, right, in their iman, right? And they are people who يسير وفي هذه الدرجة يسير الغيب كأنه شهادة ويعبر عنها باليقين. They basically see the hereafter as if it is in front of them. That's the second level, they're muqarrabin. A second level whereby they actually, as if they see paradise in front of them, they see hellfire in front of them, they see Allah's majesty in front of them. The highest level is the level of the prophets, right, and of those who are perfect in their inheritance of prophets. They are ashabul kashf, right, al-ayan. Right, so they are people who have kashf, right? It means they're people who have yaqeen. They have unveilings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are obviously yaqeen, right? And so for them, right, it's for them is a higher level. They're prophets. Right, so it's a full 100%. They're only seeing the akhirah and not seeing the dunya at all. And that is why Hawaba Aisha, she will always make a dua, Allahumma arina dunya kama turi kumala ibadika as-salihin. But she said, oh Allah, show us this dunya as how you have shown the perfect servants of yours who are righteous. Show us this dunya, and us see this dunya as how you have shown the perfect servants of yours who are righteous. Allahumma arina dunya kama turi kumala ibadika as-salihin. كمال عبادك الصالحين. نعم. وبين أهل كل درجة في درجاتهم تفاوت بعيد وكل فاضل والبعد الأفضل وذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. So every level of all of these three levels, there are many levels in between. And between each level is a far distance, mashallah. So it's basically it's levels to climb in your yaqeen, and the only way to climb it is with zikr and ibadah, and that's how you increase in your yaqeen. Right? So it's not that some people think, oh, when my iman grows stronger, then I will begin to practice more. That is a wrong understanding. You practice more now, and your iman will grow stronger. Iman grows stronger, you practice more, inshallah. But don't say wait until I'm there, then I will put on the hijab, or then I will pray, or then I will if you're gonna do that, it's never gonna happen. Because with lesser ibadah comes lesser yaqeen, and then it becomes a spiral. And I know of true cases in Singapore, whereby a person begins by removing the hijab. And it's a very drastic spiral. They'll go from first they disbelieve in the hijab, right? So they go around, they say, oh no, it's all about modesty, it's not about a cloth on your head, it's all about inward modesty, blah blah blah. And it's the same story over and over again. And after a while, you find that they stop praying. It's just a yandarij, right? They will stop praying. And after a while, you find that their clothes are getting less and less. They're wearing less and less clothes. And after a while, it seems to like these are true stories in I know in Singapore, true stories. And after a while, so they go from being very multazimah, very practicing Muslims, to is step by step, right? It goes away. And after a while, they begin drinking, and after a while, this belief in God. This happened to one of our people that we know, right? And it all began by the inkar of the hijab. I mean, it's not wajib, and saying that you can be a good Muslim without it. It's all step by step. And this is why it's an intibah. I have to pay attention. If you see yourself receding, and you're going lesser, right? You're getting worse, right? In your normal acts of obedience, it's all things for you to pay attention to. Right? But and I say getting worse in a sense that it is being replaced by non-ibadah. Right? So changing from state to state is something else. Right? So when you go from being unmarried to being married, right, to being a mother, right? So all, of course, your ibadah does not decrease but changes in its state. The other day I saw one of the ustazahs in Singapore. She posted on her WhatsApp status, Halima Latif. She posted on her status that for mothers, your awrat are your children. She said, Alhamdulillah. Because one of she was saying, you worry so much about your awrat, you're doing your awrat, you're doing your wirid, right? And she said that she was saying, your wirid, first and foremost, is your children. Teach them. Right? Don't do all your awrat and then they are left not taught. Right? But they are your wirid, they are your first wirid first. Right? Teach them first. Right? And then if you have time later on, do other stuff. But they are your wirid, your family is your wirid. Right? So wirid comes in many forms. It doesn't come in just sitting down and doing your adhkar, but your wirid, if you're a married woman, your wirid is serving your husband. It's your wirid. And she also mentioned that those who are memorizing the Quran, memorization of Quran is your wirid. So the first thing you do is do muraja'ah of what you have memorized before you begin with al-latif, and before you do all the other awrat. You begin with your wirid of memorization first and foremost, then you go into other things. And that's because you're wajib. So what I was saying is that a sign of a dangerous sign that someone's iman is decreasing is their deeds are decreasing. And what we mean is that their deeds are decreasing into non-deeds. I mean, they're going into ma'asi, they're going into ma'siyah, they're going into frivolity, wasting time, and so on. Right? So don't think that I used to do much more when I was younger, when I was unmarried, when I had no children. Of course, right? But doesn't mean that you're lesser in your worship. Your worship has changed in its nature, a change in the nature of worship, but worship nonetheless, right? So that is a big sign. So if someone is finding themselves decreasing in their worship every day, or they're decreasing their worship as they move in life, then these are all very, very bad signs, right? Really bad signs. It's something Imam Ghazali calls istidraj. Istidraj is basically they think they are on goodness, but they are not, right? And they're actually going on this path of delusion, and they're going to come into destruction. And that is from the ayat of the Quran in Surah Kahfi, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, shall we not tell you who is the worst of losers, right? The akhsarun nas, right? the worst of losers, right? And in Surah Kahfi Allah says, alladhina dalla sa'ihum fil hayatid dunya. Those who they are striving so hard in this dunya, but it's all wasted because it's not on the Sharia, it's not ibadah, and they think they're doing something that is good. Subhanallah. And these are the people who do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I should be very, very careful about this, right?
If your work is like a khidmah, but it's consuming all of your time, is that a form of ibadah?
There still has to. It is a form of ibadah, yes, right? But there has to be a tawazun, a balance. There still has to be a balance, right? So let's say for example, right? Someone in the da'wah field. So someone's doing a lot of da'wah and a lot of service in da'wah, but then in doing so, they are neglecting really basic things they should be doing, like Quran every day. Basic stuff, right? Of course, the wajib should be done, right? But basic things like mu'akkada, the sunnah mu'akkada, if they're missing out those, and the Quran and their very basic adhkar, right? And it's because they're very busy doing all this other stuff. They need to have a balance. They still should have because the soul, as much as you do your work in khidmah and so on, there always has to be an amount of zikr that the soul needs. It's like a minimum amount of food that you need to consume every day. So no matter how busy you are, you will eat at least one meal a day. You will eat it no matter how busy you are. Same thing with awrat. So yes, it is ibadah, right? But it should not overtake, it should not consume you so much to the point you're not even doing Quran in the day. There has to be an amount of Quran, at minimum Quran, because of all the azkar in the world, right? That we have in front of us. The best zikr is Quran. So if there is not even a page of Quran a day, even the most minimum Quran a day, right, then ask yourself, like, why? Right, the most important thing in the day with regards to zikr is Quran, inshallah. But there has to be a tawazun, and it has to be a balance. But it is ibadah, yes, it is ibadah, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, right? And of course, in changing from place to place. So and again, it is changing in responsibilities. So of course, you're here in Tarim, you're here in a town of ibadah, a town of durus, of lessons, of zikr and so on. You go back to Singapore, right, or you go to your own countries, all of the responsibility of family comes in. Right, here you're kind of free of any family responsibility. Like for me, tonight I have a dinner in my uncle's house. My uncle lives here. So that now family, right? My family has called me for dinner. And I want to do my work tonight, but alhamdulillah, my uncle has called me over. He's my mom's brother, right? So responsibility, in the family. But when you go back home to your countries, it becomes heavier because your parents are right in front of you. Like here, at least you don't have to go. Not you don't have to, but you don't visit them once a week. Like in your countries, you will go once a week, to both sides, spend the whole day there, a lot of time, and then I find Singapore, a lot of time spent on family, birthdays, gatherings, lunches, parties, whatever, weddings. so in a sense, you take it as a different form of ibadah. You're not in Tarim, it's different. You're not in Tarim anymore. And when I went back to Singapore also, I had to consult so many times my teachers in Tarim, because I found that my azkar was decreasing, right? And then she said that when you were here, you were just a student, right? That was all you were a student, and so therefore you are freed up to do all your azkar and your memorization and your studying. When you go back to Singapore, suddenly you are at the service of the community. For myself, right? So now you're a da'i, like calling people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So being a da'i, at the same time you have to be a student at the same time, because you can't just keep calling without learning. So I was trying to keep up with classes, at the same time teaching, and at the same time counseling. Counseling happens when you enter this field. Automatically you're called into counseling, right? All kinds of people, right? And mashallah, this morning we took from Ustazah Zainab. You want to come to the class? I was wondering this morning. I was like, Basira, okay. This morning, I knocked your door actually. I didn't know that you heard.
Oh yes,
At 6:30, I knocked your door. So Zainab, this morning her class, Imam Ghazali mentions about how, how that about tawbah, about istighfar, right? And he mentions, how it is that some people, because of their lack of worship and lack of ibadah or lack of istighfar, right, that of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends them calamities, right? So they will wake up, and begin to do their ibadah or do their istighfar, right? And Imam Ghazali mentions that it could even be that a person lacks so much in their worship and their istighfar, and they have a lot of sins. So Allah puts in their heart a lot of grief and sadness, and that is a form of bala. It's a form of trial, right? And by that sadness and grief, which in our society we say depression, right? Their sins are being forgiven because they actually lack in worship and istighfar. So actually, if they want that grief to go away, they need to make up on their worship and istighfar. Subhanallah. Especially in Ihya Ulumuddin, mashallah. So, I'm mentioning that because I talk about counseling, I always say to people, do more zikr, do more zikr, do more zikr. No one believes you. Whenever I say do more zikr, no, it's not as easy as that. And now Imam Ghazali is saying that it's because of your lack of zikr, right? That Allah is giving you this ibtila, this trial of ham wal gham, of grief and worry, to make up for the sins that you have that needs to be forgiven. MashaAllah. But of course, I was saying to Zainab this morning, I was saying to her, Ustazah, it's so hard to say this to people. How do you say to a depressed person, you are depressed because you lack in deeds, and you're not doing enough istighfar, so therefore Allah has sent this to you as a way of purification. You can't say this to people. MashaAllah. You just say, of course you don't say it to them. Of course you don't, right? But in a sense, you guide them. You guide them on zikr. You say that, to remove the grief, do more zikr. Right? And trust me, you gotta do more zikr. Because the grief will go away. You have to go more. MashaAllah. But anyway, I was just talking to some of my Zainab and some of my teachers, that whenever I went to Singapore, I found myself decreasing in my worship, all these kind of deeds. And they just point out to me that you're on a different world right now, a world of da'wah, and now your priority, right, is to call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So as we see in the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, whereby there was once after he prayed Dhuhr, a delegation came to Medina, right, and he had to attend to them. And because he attended to them and taught them the religion, because sometimes these delegations, they come for one day, and they stay in Medina for one day, they learn what they learn of Fardu Ain, and they leave. Right? Some stay for a few days, they learn what they learn, and they leave, and they go back to their tribes. So these are the years of delegation in the Sirah of Rasulullah. Right? So he sat with them from Dhuhr all the way to Asr. Right? And did not pray his Qabliya wala Ba'diya. And he only prayed for Dhuhr, right? And did not pray. So I think he prayed his Qabliya, but not his Ba'diya. Alright, so the Ba'diya of Dhuhr was not prayed. Right, so then Asr came in because he was attending to these people. Asr came in, right, and he prayed his Ba'diya Dhuhr in Asr time. That's where the hukum comes from, that you can actually do it later on. Right, so this is Shafi. I don't know what I can give you a clause. But Shafi, you can always qada any sunnahs that is specific. Right, specific sunnahs can be qada. You can qada. Right, specific sunnahs. Right, so in a sense, from this story, you see that he delayed his personal worship because there was something more pressing. Because a group of people came to the masjid and then looking to be taught. So even to take 5 minutes to pray 4 rak'ats, right, they might leave. They might not have the patience for it. Right, so he spent the entire time from Zuhr to Asr teaching them. MashaAllah. This is one of what they were telling me, that examples, that there are responsibilities, right, in these situations. Right? So as much as you want to do so much more ibadah, right, sometimes, especially in Singapore, the best time for people is right after Maghrib for class. So as far as what I hear, I put it on after Isha. In Singapore, I don't have this kind of liberty to do after Isha, right? Because people finish their work, they want to come for class, they want to go home early. So I would love to have my Maghrib and Isha for myself. Right, but then people can't come if you say after Isha. Because Singapore after Isha will be 9 o'clock. Yeah, it's too late, right, to have a class after Isha. Right? So we're going to put it before Isha. And then khalas, you don't have your Maghrib Isha timing. But again, as you move from phase to phase, basically it's phases, right? You're changing in your responsibilities, right? But as long as you are on continuous worship, right? So that is the point, right? On continuous worship, right? And that is the point whenever you're in tarim and if you find yourself not being able to keep up with the zikr, the awrad, and so on, right? Ask yourself, are you on continuous worship? If you are on continuous worship, alhamdulillah, khair. Right, so it says you are not wasting your time. Alhamdulillah. And that's what it's about. And that's why you see on Thursday nights, they go right into the Mawlid. You don't see them actually doing the Ratib, Al-Haddad, and Al-Attas, They don't do the Ratib, they write the Maulid, because Maulid is a form of worship. So you're doing that worship in place of this worship. It's all worship. Mashallah. Right, so wherever, this is why also some of them also will have lessons or durus. Right when people are doing their worship, they have lessons. So you choose a lesson instead of going for a zikr. Of course, the lesson is higher, right? In its value in our religion, a lesson is higher, mashallah. So alhamdulillah, all these are forms of understanding. Now, we will go to the next chapter. Faslan. وعليك يا أخي بإصلاح النية وإخلاصها وتفكر فيها قبل الدخول في العمل، فإنها أساس العمل، والأعمال تابعة لها حسنا وقبحا وصحة وفسادا. وقد قال صلى الله عليه وسلم: إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. فعليك أن لا تقول قولا ولا تعمل عملا ولا تعزم على أمر إلا وتكون ناويا بذلك القرب إلى الله وابتغاء الثواب الذي رتبه سبحانه على الأمر منوي من باب المنة والفضل. واعلم أنه لا يصلح التقرب إلى الله تعالى إلا بما شرعه على لسان رسوله من الفرائض والنوافل. وقد تأثر النية الصادقة في الأمر المباح فيصير قربة لله من حيث إن للوسائل حكم المقاصد، كمن ينوي بأكله التقوى على طاعة الله وبإتيانه أهله التسبب في حصول الولد يعبد الله. تمام. So next chapter is about intentions, about niyat, about intentions, about sincerity. So he says here, it is on you, O my brother, to correct your intention, to rectify and to correct your intention, right? And your sincerity, and to check it, and to go through it and to think about it before you enter into any deed. And this is one thing that we do all the time here in Hadramaut, right? First thing first, they will remind you of your niyat. What are your intentions? When you learn whatever book you learn, right at the beginning of the page, what are your intentions in learning this book? And every book you do, right? And you will find years down the road, when you flip through your intentions, you will find that that mashallah, whatever you wrote as intentions, it came to be. Subhanallah. One of my students, she was telling me when she was learning this book with me in Singapore, right? That she wrote one of her intentions, and at the point of writing it, she thought it's so mustaba'ad, and it's so far impossible it will happen. And of the incident she wrote was to visit Imam al-Halal's grave, and his house and his masjid. It was one of her niyat in this book, right? And then mashallah, years down the road, right, she found herself visiting his grave and his maqam and his masjid, mashallah. So you never know, right? That you put some niyat somewhere and you forgot about it. You forgot all about it yet. Mashallah. And Allah does not forget. Allah knows all the intention. Mashallah. So never underestimate intentions. Mashallah. It's a story of a man called Tubba. Right? Tubba, right? He's found in his mansion in Surah Dukhan. Surah Dukhan, Qawmi Tubba. Right? So you find his name there. So basically Tubba, he is a king. He is an ancient king. Before the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? And to this Tubba, right, the story goes that he came before the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The story goes that he actually went to Medina. Yathrib. Right? Years, many years. In fact, the generations before Rasulullah, he went to Yathrib. Right? And when he was in Yathrib, the Jews were already there. Right? They were already waiting for some for generations at Yathrib. That's why the Jews were very much Arab in their speech and their culture. They were Jewish, right? But they knew the Arabic language because they had been there for generations. So they had taken the language of the Arabs. Right? But they maintained their Jewishness. So he went there and he met some Jews there. And he asked them, why are you guys here in this random, village? Because Yathrib is a village, not even a town. It's a village. It's so small. Yathrib is just a small town around an oasis where people get gathered around an oasis, and they had their farming because there were volcanic land there, so it was quite fertile. So it's known for its date palms and so on and so forth. So it's a very natural, agricultural based town, right? But it's a village. It's a village. So there were some Jews there, having their marketplace and so on. So he asked them why were they there, and they said to him that they found in their books that the final prophet was going to come and settle there, right? So he made an intention that he wants to be of service to this final prophet. So basically, he learned from the Jews, and he embraced the religion of the oneness of God. Right? So he was a believer in God. It's Dubba. He was actually a monotheist, a believer in God. So he had an intention to serve the prophet, the final prophet. Right? So he actually bought a land in Medina, right? And he made a house there, and he said the final prophet will come and live here. An intention that he placed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That he has that he has placed this niyat with Allah, right? He put it in Allah's guardian. And then he left Medina. The story goes that he goes up to his people, and he makes dawah to his people. They kill him, right? And so in Surah Dukhan, Allah speaks about how they were destroyed. Qawm Tubba, and the Qawm were destroyed. The people of Tubba were destroyed. But Tubba himself was a righteous man. So years later, when Rasulullah arrived in Medina, right, and his camel sat in a plot of land that belonged to orphans. It was not Tubba's land. I sat there. Sayyidina Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, he came and he grabbed the bags of Rasulullah and he brought it to his house for Rasulullah to stay there. Sayyidina Abu Ayyub al-Ansari was on the same plot that Tubba had placed, to be a place of dwelling for the Prophet when he came to Medina. MashaAllah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he oversaw the entire niyat of Tubba, and that he made this intention that he wants to serve the final prophet, and Allah saw it to happen. For him. MashaAllah. So you never know, what your intentions are. And a lot of scholars have said that it could be that our existence here right now in Tari was someone in our ancestry. It could be. And it's not mustahil. It's not mustahil. It could be someone in our ancestry met with the awliya. Right? So and all of us, we're either from in our ancestry. We're from Pakistan, from India, we're from Malaysia, we're from places whereby the awliya have come. Right? And that's how Islam spread. Right? So it could be that someone in our ancestry met with the awliya. Right? And he made an intention that if he can't go to the place of the awliya, there's someone from their descendants with him. Inshallah. Right? So we don't know if we are the manifestation of someone in our ancestry's niyat. And then it came down to us. And then we are the ones here. MashaAllah. So we never know, but Allah Kareem. But they say everyone that comes here, there is some reason why they're here. Right? So Allah has caused someone in your ancestry to meet someone. And then there was a niyat, there was a dua, there was a fatiha, and then it trickled down the line, and it will manifest in someone that will come later on. MashaAllah. So for us, in our intention, right, when we learn about this religion, right, a very strong intention is that people in our line, right, and Habib Umar, sometimes when he gives speeches, he will say, I am speaking to you, and I'm speaking to those in you, and those in you, all the way down to Nabi Isa. Don't you let go of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Right? Don't you let go of this path. Right? So and usually when you in the kind of majlis, you say, Ya Allah, all of my descendants till the day of judgment, Ya Allah. And they even speak to their own descendants inside of them. And they will say, don't you dare let go of the Habaib, don't you dare let go of the awliya. Hold on till the very last day when you see Nabi Isa and be of his army. I be in the army of Nabi Isa. I see my intention that it will trickle down through your descendants. Mashallah. And even if your line cuts off, right, you get the intention that you have put in. Mashallah. And so you make a very strong intention because at the time people have left the awliya. And so whenever I'm here, I'm like, subhanAllah, whoever is in my lineage, if there's a lineage, don't you dare leave the Habai. Warning my children, those who are not existent. You warn them, because your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, don't you dare leave the awliya. And my wasiyah to you, you hold on to them. In your last breath, you hold on to them. And you pass this down. Every generation, you pass this down. You hold on to these people. MashaAllah. And for all we know, it was in our ancestors who did that. And then it came down to us. For all you know, that we are the result, of their du'as and their niyats. MashaAllah. And my grandmother, she used to be someone very strong on Maulid. But before I was born, my mom would tell me, before I was born, she was someone very strong on Maulid. And her favorite Maulid was Sharaful Anam. And she loved Sharaful Anam. And I didn't even know anything about it. Because when my grandfather passed away, my mom was a teenager when my grandfather passed away, she stopped all her activities. And she went into sadness. When her husband passed away. So she stayed at home. Didn't go anywhere anymore. So I never knew of all of these things that she used to know. Never knew. And I grew up with her. I grew up with her in adulthood, and she passed away when I was here in last time. I never knew, of what she used to take part in. So when I found out things here, and I was sharing with my mother was like, your grandmother will do all of these things. Your nanny, she is a pro in Sharaful Anam, and she has memorized it. She used to bring us around and do the maulid in people's houses. My mom said she trained my mom and my aunties on Sharaful Anam. And it was something that was not known in Southeast Asia. But she was someone she loved that maulid very much. And then she said that, and she would do, and my mom would tell me all the things she used to do, and I'm finding it here in Tariq. I never found it in her. I grew up with her, I never found it in her because she kind of, went into a state, right, when her husband passed away. So I never knew of her life before my grandfather passed away. My mom told me all about it. I was like, really? But you never know that, it's because that she used to do all these things, they trickled down into the ancestry. Mashallah. And I'm sure some like my cousins, they're all hafizat. And they all remember. So someone in my ancestry would have done something. They trickled down to them, and they all got the hifz of the Quran, in them, mashallah. So then it's really a manifestation, of someone in our ancestry they did something. The niyat has come to us, and so it's on us to continue this niyat into those that come after us, inshallah. In all goodness. So إخلاصها, the sincerity of it, I said to check your niyyah, to think about it before you enter into any deed, and so to give yourself time to sit down and pen down your intentions. Why are you doing what you're doing? And of course, in doing so, it actually encourages you on istiqamah. One thing I really learned in our Sayyid, right, that really is that when I was memorizing the Salihin, the Rasulullah used to make us memorize. Now I hate this memorization. We used to memorize half of the Salihin a day. Back in the day, mashallah. So I found it to be the hardest thing I've ever done. To memorize, and I was just studying half of it. Word for word, it's so hard. So I on my hadith book, I write down all the intentions. Why am I doing this? Right, because so many people, especially those who are not living in the dar, those are living outside, the dar, those who are married or mothers. Majority of them opt out of memorization. Majority, almost all, will opt out of memorization. So and it will just come to me every now and then, like, why are you still memorizing? Why are you still memorizing? Why just opt out of it? It's so much easier if you opt out. Right? So I had to note all of my niyat, all of my intentions down. And so whenever I felt, that it's too hard, I'm so tempted to opt out, of memorization. I'm going to forget it anyway. Because hadith, you have to muraja. Quran, you have to muraja. For hadith, if you forget it, it's not a sin. But Quran, if you forget it, it's a sin. If you memorize Quran and you forget it, it's a sin. So I had to push myself on it. So in referring to my intentions, I get motivated. It's a form of motivation. It's the same thing. If you're learning Arabic, because Arabic is an initial very steep hill. The hill is very steep. The initial onset of the language, and you feel like you're learning and you're not getting anywhere. You will feel that way for Arabic, right? But you need to put your intentions down. You just gotta put your intentions down, right? And just force yourself, push yourself. Many people in the community have given up on the Arabic language. Don't give up. I'm telling you, don't give up. It is a key. Don't give up straight. Don't give up. Don't. Because I know. It is. We all learn Arabic from scratch. For me, I began learning when I was 24. 24, I began my first Arabic class. 24. After I finished university. It is a struggle. It is. It's not easy. Mashallah. And I always tell people who come here, stick to the Darul Zahra syllabus, stick to the Arabic there, stick to it. I know there's exams, I know there's all kinds of things going on at Darul Zahra, but Barakah Habib Omar, his dua and everything, and mashallah, you will benefit, inshallah. And I know of people who have done the course several times. They fail and they repeat, and they fail and they repeat, and they fail and they repeat. And then there's a futuh, has an opening for them. And then for myself personally, that my Arabic is really, really from Darul Zahra. Darul Zahra. I can't translate Hababa like this, the way I do, if not for the training in Darul Zahra. Darul Zahra introduces you to a lot of Islamic terms. Because so you learn things formally, right? So you're learning Islamic terms formally in Darul Zahra. So how you do the translation if you don't know all these terms? I know some people, they leave it. They leave the Arab study. And they think that just by immersing themselves in society, they're going to pick it up. No. No, you're not going to pick it up. Right? Because it's like how when you learn science, you learn terms. So, for example, if you keep going around and hearing people say the word respiration, photosynthesis, all these other scientific terms, synthesis, you learn, whatever, coagulation, all these scientific terms, right? You know what? Unless you have sat down in a biology class, you would have not known all these terms existed and what they mean, right? But in the biology class, in biology, they will give you the definition, right? So when you hear it, I know what it is, mashallah. So in Darul Zahra, in the fiqh class, you see all the fiqh terms. In the aqidah class, all the aqidah terms. In the tasawwuf class, all the tasawwuf terms. MashaAllah. And from there, when I go out to Habib Umar, the Hababas, that's when all these terms I know because I've searched them from Darul Zahra. I searched these terms. And you sit down and you open up a qamus in a dictionary and you actually search it. So when you hear Habib Umar and everything, so I know some people Allahu Alam, they abandon it and they think by immersion they will get it. Right? Maybe you might get some, right? But you're missing the formal education. It's like how you don't want your children to grow up learning English from the society. Right? You don't want that. Right? Because their English kharban. The English is really right? You want them to learn English from where? Schools. Right? And from reading good books. That's where you get your English. Right? From good books and from school. Right? You're gonna get English from your society, you're gonna speak terrible English. Mashallah. Same thing. Right? And you're gonna understand people like who are scholars. You have to have school book English. If you're going to know scholars, many people say they find it so hard to understand Shamla Yusuf. But Shamla Yusuf speaks school book English. MashaAllah. His English is high. But if you are educated in English language, you will find it easy and in fact pleasant to listen to. But I know so many people when I tell them, Sheikh Hamza, he's so good. And he's so hard to understand. I said, no, he's not. But then because they never really went into the language, of it. But anyway, so put your intentions. So I'm saying put your intentions. Like high intentions. Like I want to understand Habib Umar. I want to translate for him. I want to know the words of Abu Bakr Adani. I want to know translate for them. I want to be able to teach my own children this language. Because it is the language of the Quran or the Hadith. So I want to be able to speak to them fluently in correct Arabic. Right? That they can pick this up from me. And so on and so forth. Put all of those intentions down. Right? And then whenever you feel so discouraged about it, you look at your intentions. And you push and you push and you push. I know of one sister from Singapore. She's Malaysian, but she's from Singapore. And she's not here right now. But you might have met her, Tasneem from Singapore. You know Tasneem, right? Tasneem. She's in Malaysia right now because her mom is not well. Right? But she went through Ibtida'i, I think about 5 times. Because she would go through it and then she go through it and her kid would fall sick and she would miss out like entire month of school. It was one after another. Like 3 children, right? It's like one after another they're falling sick. So you miss a month of school, you miss the exams, you repeat. And then she go again, she gets pregnant. Right? And then she gives birth, you miss the entire and you try again. And it's like so she's going back and forth. She was here the year I came. But she keeps repeating the same level over and over and over again. Mashallah. But it's himmah, you see, it's striving. And she will keep repeating it and she will until she goes up the levels. Mashallah. There's all, people who, they're not shy that they are repeating levels. They're not shy because they want the knowledge. And they see that with repeating it, they understand better, in what they're learning. Mashallah. So I know many examples of people who strove very hard. Just to get the language and they try very hard just to memorize Quran. Right, they're going to do it. If it takes them 20 years, mashallah. But they will do it. But their intention is very strong. Mashallah. So inshallah, may Allah give us, grant us, it's high himmah. It is a gift. Right? I'm going to Arabic a lot, but learning Arabic is a gift because there's so much treasures in the Arabic language that we can't translate. Right? It's too hard to translate all of it. Right now, the English translation is still at its baby stage. They're really baby for English translation, of Islamic texts. Right? For Aqidah, as I mentioned, it's only now we're having a basic text that is traditional. The Tasawwuf, they have more, but still very, very baby. Mashallah, fiqh. Right, the tafsir, all of these sciences, and of course it gives you access to the scholars, direct access, and you want that. And you want to go back to your countries, and you can put on the YouTube, and you don't have to depend on translation, but you can hear Habib straight and follow his classes. Mashallah. That is what you want. And on his website, there's a treasure of recorded classes. On his website, books after books after books. So I just occupy myself doing that. So you can learn so many of every science on his website. Mashallah, in the thousands of recordings, But then Arabic language, has to be there. Inshallah, Allah give us futuh, inshallah. Inshallah, don't give up.
I want to continue Shawwal.
Inshallah.
I'm going to do over again as a Sitanism.
Inshallah, you can do it.
I did Asara si awal 2 times.
See, mashallah, example
as
here.
Already, I'm supposed to go to Ibtida'i awal, but I'm going to continue again as a Sitani, inshallah.
Yeah,
because I think I need it.
Yeah, just repeat what you need to repeat. I know of one sister here. She does.
I don't know if I'm ready for Sassi.
I know of one sister here. She does every level twice. Every level just twice. I mean, it's really strength and himmah. Mashallah. Don't give up. Mashallah.
SubhanAllah, we just had this
conversation.
We had the same message given to us from our Quran teacher.
Oh, is it?
2 hours ago. Clearly there is a strong message.
Yeah, strong message. Maybe Allah sees that you're all on the brink of should we give up? No, answer is no. It is istikhara, the answer is no. Don't give up. That's right. It's
loud and clear.
loud and clear. I mean, you see people around you who have Arabic fluent. It's after a lot of work.
Yeah.
This is a lot of work. I'll tell my siblings, my brother, my sister-in-law, I'll say that you see me translating, right? It's not overnight. I've been in this for 10 years, 15 years. Come on. From 2010. From 2010 I began when I graduated from university. So it's been 13 years, of not 13 years of work with the dictionary and checking and going back and forth and checking, going back and forth. It's work, mashallah. Because Allah barakah dua from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you'll find that the futuh will come to you, inshallah. It's a lot of work, mashallah. Inshallah. Fatiha for us.